Hello, hello. Good morning. Happy Monday. Gonna do some live walkthrough today. Just looking forward to week 5. We've been meaning to put some videos out like this forever now, but now things are getting serious. So it's Monday. There's still action tonight, right? We don't know what this next week's fully going to shake out, but Monday it's hard not to start looking ahead, right? Especially yesterday when the early games, there wasn't much excitement, right? It was like kind of over and done. So I feel like most of us were already looking ahead in the third quarter. So let's follow up with that, looking ahead. I think we got all the Atlas stuff updated. I haven't looked at the teams at all. I've been trying not to think about any of that stuff until doing this video. That way I could just naturally show off my process, what I'm doing to start the week, what I'm thinking about. So first, you see we got the lobby here. Following myself, 4 entries hanging in there. And dang, look at all these people with 10. Recognize a bunch of these names. Crush 'em, Whiskey, Big House, maybe Shannon right here. I wonder how many people have 10 live entries right now. Let's try it. 10. 114, is that right? No. 75 have 10 survived, and maybe like 40, 50 more can get 10 through tonight. All these type of entries with 9 through and 1 Denver, or 9 through and 1 Miami. So still a lot of people with a lot of ammo, right? But there's still a lot of football left, so it's not like you got to be scared of them. You just got to play your game, figure out a way to get ahead. Now, okay, first thing I do each week, we're looking at the teams. This is week 4, so let's click on ahead to week 5. This week, like I said, it's not officially started yet. That's tomorrow, but we can still peek ahead. We can see that the lines, dang, Arizona's minus 8.5. The first 2 weeks, putting Arizona in some entries, thinking they got no future value, right? No future value. And then maybe halfway through week 2, you say, oh, maybe week 5 they're important. Look at that. One of the biggest favorites. We know their future values weak. We talked about it a lot the first 2 weeks. Let's have a look at it. So these are all those spreads. You can see with the current power ratings, they are never more than a 2-point favorite the rest of the season. What? That just seems like a great choice, right? This week. So Arizona, we see about 47% of the field has them. So how many of those people are going to pick it? Well, we know it's not all of them. It's hard for it ever to be even more than 80% of a team this early of the availableness picked, right? So I'm going to pencil them in at 26% this week. Not even sure what the EV would be of that shaking out, but just first look, it's good to just start putting those numbers in your head, right? Also, we got the teams ranked by win percentage right here. And over here, you see the future value, and you see that 3 teams don't have the future spread value of the rest: Arizona, Indy, and Minnesota. So those teams are all going to be calling to me, right? How do you get through this week without burning Baltimore, Buffalo, Detroit? I don't want to burn those teams yet. Let's look at Indy, because Indy, not great future value, but it's got a couple of these top 3 spots. So we pull it up. Week 8, they get to play Tennessee. Everyone's loving that spot. But it's the type of spot, maybe, is everyone circling it? if everyone's circling it, maybe you don't want to put all your eggs in that basket of saving them. But dang, Tennessee looks bad, huh? And they have all the signs. I mean, besides just getting whooped, the signs of like the coach spazzing out, and you know when you're like the quarterback in your team's bag, you're not supposed to just say everyone's ass like he said. But I feel like Cam Ward was speaking out because the team is like maybe not with the coach, so it's easy to just to talk a little smack. Anyway, uh, Indy's on the list this week, but everyone can see they play Tennessee again, so it's kind of interesting, right? Uh, and then Minnesota, they're going to be playing Cleveland. That's an international game, right? I clicked this because I'm wondering, is that line the real line? And I see we got it 6 hours ago. So it's probably pretty close to being the real line. Interesting, though. Minnesota and Cleveland. I guess Cleveland offense is just too bad for them ever to catch any respect on these. So yeah, I get it. What and further down the list, yeah, we see some -3s in here, -2.5. Maybe these are a little too much of a reach, but last week was funny, or excuse me, I guess the week we're currently in, week 4, because of the big favorites and how many teams were 6 points or above. Let's look at that right quick. I guess about the same amount, but you can see not many people reach down to the -3 teams. And for week 5, probably the same situation. I don't know which of these lines could really move. The Chargers, Washington, I guess there's some unknown injury stuff there. So maybe that one gets up. But I think, that it's all about these top, I guess, 5, 6 teams, right? Baltimore, the biggest favorite on the spread right now, but of course their future's so good. So good. Look at all these new number 1 spots. This future stuff we look at, it changes as the team strengths change. And we see the latest power ratings. We grabbed these from Unpredictable this morning. Check them out. They got a bunch of cool stuff. Unpredictable. But the power ratings got, looks like I missed the team. Bye teams. I was about to say, I know Green Bay is up at the top, but no, they got a bye week. They're not showing up here. So all these teams, the 3 strongest teams playing are all big favorites, and they have great futures. And, every week people got to make their own decision on, is this the time to burn it, right? Is this the time you burn Detroit? Is this the time you burn Buffalo? The past 2 weeks, Buffalo being this huge favorite, and they won, but so did basically everyone else, right? So it doesn't feel good to have used Buffalo on an entry in hindsight. I think that's enough of the teams. Let's just jump ahead to the map. Let's see what this is feeling like. For anyone wondering why the colors are different over here and over here, these games are ones what we've seen odds, or we've seen markets exist for within 24 hours of right now. So whenever we've seen a market within the last 48 hours exist, we use those odds. We use the most recent ones, and we know it's kind of like a real line. All these ones in the future, these kind of grayed out ones, we haven't seen odds in the last 48 hours. So we use our system to project what the spreads are going to be. And this changes basically every day when we update power ratings. It changes all this stuff. So, for example, on Thanksgiving right now, we have Baltimore as the big favorite, -12.5 against Cincy. But where does that come from? Is that real? I'm going to double click that. See, we haven't had real odds taken for weeks now in that game. But we also see the power ratings of the two teams. Baltimore has gone up a little since the season started, and Cincinnati's way down. So projecting Baltimore minus 13-ish. Of course, that could change a lot, right? Cincinnati comes back. Lamar Jackson stuff. I haven't even looked at the update on him today. This is all just kind of peeking forward. There's so many more things that are clear on Tuesday, right? The odds get cleaned up. Some more injury stuff is known, and just people talking about it. You kind of learn more how people are approaching the game. I think Survivor, that's important to kind of tap into what everyone else is thinking. Not even necessarily to follow them or copy them, but you gotta. This game we're playing, Survivor, it's not against the house, right? It's against the field. So you always want to be seeing the field is kind of like your enemy at all times. You're trying to get ahead of the field. You're trying to find advantages against the field. So anyway, this map. Let's type in my entry. Gabe. No, not degenerate gambler Gabe. I am go Gabe. Okay, we added these little colors to give you a quick clue which entry is which. It's going to get messy quickly if we start having these, if we have 10 dots in each box, but hopefully getting eliminated just kind of takes care of it, right? Like you can see only, how many entries do I got with 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are my live entries. Let's just load it up. So some people like looking at the old rounds when they were mapping. So you can just turn them on. Also, these little lines, we thought of them as like treasure map lines in the off season. You can turn those off too, but I kind of like them jumping around. Oh, also, if you really want to get crazy, you can show all your map paths at once. I'm not sure if this is helpful. It's kind of like for when I'm in crazy mode, I just want to see them all at once. I don't know if you guys find that interesting or not, but anyway, let's go back to my earliest live entry. So one thing you can do, sometimes you might be filling in different columns, like maybe I want this one, and I know I want this one. If you have a bunch of selections and you sort it by the team right here, these little double arrows, it sorts them in the order of your selections. So I guess it's not really clear since there's only a few, but let's use autofill just to pick all the biggest spreads in order. And, it might look like this, and then you want to organize them all in the order they were selected. You hit this right here, and they're right there. It's useful sometimes to help you pick, find what weak sec you want to focus on, stuff like that. Oops, I hit reset. I need to add a clear button instead of just having reset. So this entry of mine, Google Gabe number 4. Let's just pencil in Arizona, right? I'm probably not using Baltimore or Buffalo. I'm trying to save those to win all the money. I'm not trying to just make it to week 7. We got Denver on this entry. Vegas next week. Is that going to be a hot one too? Vegas. And then Chicago. Dang, there's kind of a good stretch of weak teams you can do. Let's just get rid of my entry for a second and think about that. Week 5, you can go Arizona. Week 6, you get Vegas. I know people are talking about that Pittsburgh hosting Cleveland. Cleveland coming off the international, but I don't know. I feel like Cleveland's the perfect team to beat Pittsburgh. Anyway, let's say you go Vegas, and then Chicago hosting New Orleans. That's going to be hard to pass up that spot, right? And then week 8, all the people with Indy still. Week 9, the Rams. Rams haven't been used much. Week 10. You're going to have to burn a team on week 10. Week 10 looks hard, doesn't it? Week 10 looks crazy hard. All these spreads. Do you even have Denver or Buffalo? Because if you don't, you're going to be on a -4. that dang, I hope I'm alive that week. That looks exciting, right? I don't even know which one to click right now. I'm just gonna move on. 11, maybe work in Atlanta. 12, San Fran, no one's uses them. Thanksgiving, you're home free. So we got a bunch of teams that aren't the elite teams coming up this month and next, right? Like you made it this far, and I guess the people, if you burn a bunch of good teams, you're not too worried because you can make a run out of it. But also maybe you have an entry where you haven't used any good teams, and you can like keep fighting and make it even stronger by throwing some of these bum teams on there. Of course, some of these teams, they might have spots at the beginning of the year, or excuse me, at the end of the year. But the week 18, right? You really want to plan for that? Availability, we see Arizona. They're like the first constrained pick of the year we see, where a lot of people want them, and not everyone's going to be able to play them. I know I'm going to have some Arizona this week for sure. And after this week, their availability is going to be pretty low. But quick glance, there's not really ways that you're going to be able to use that to punish the field later. I mean, maybe Arizona becomes like a good team and they're solid favorites on some of these games, but it's not like it's easy. It's no easy games left, really. So I think a lot of people are going to be seeing that and jumping on Arizona this week. So even though I just said I'm definitely taking some Arizona, we don't have projections out yet. I don't know how high they can get. What if it looks like they're going to be 40%? Then maybe take someone different. I don't think they're going to be 40%, though. I think it's just there's limits to how much a team can get picked when there's so many good choices. Like last week, for everyone who saw Derek Stevens guessing 50% Buffalo because they're a lock. They're such a big favorite. Like, it doesn't work when there's so many other good teams. And Buffalo has a future, right? So there's kind of natural limits on some of this stuff at this part of the year. So just stuff to think about. For this week's review, week 4, we see, what do you say? There was 25 teams picked or something this week. Another crazy spread out week. Nothing much to see here. People that have secured 10 entries through, this goes down every week. And this is kind of interesting to think about for what people's strategies are. I think there's different strategies when people have 1 versus 10, right? And we use that when we make projections, thinking about, okay, these are the people with 1 entry. What are they going to take? For example, I did this a few days ago in the Discord, thinking about, okay, if a person has 1 entry, I think they're 50% likely to take Buffalo. But if they have 10 entries, I think each entry is only like 25%. So I threw that out there. I don't know if it's true, but let's look at it. People who had 1 entry live. No. This is 1 entry started with. Just 1 entry started with on this week. So that's 1582. Buffalo was 34%, Houston 30. Okay, so I was way off on that. I said closer to 50 for Buffalo. So even the 1,500 people with only 1 entry, they've mostly had the nerve to save Buffalo. Not more than the field. They used Buffalo a little more than the field. Interesting, though. Now let's look at let's think about if people had 10. They started with 10. Or no, I did that last one wrong, guys. I just realized selections made this round 1 is what I meant to look at. So how many people made 1 selection? Okay, yeah, 1,900. And 33% Buffalo. Okay, pretty similar. So now let's look at the people with 10. And did they pick Buffalo more or less than 33? I mean, I guess it's going to be less. What's it, 25? Selections made. If you made 10 selections this round, apply. Yes. Okay. So the people with 10 selections, they picked Houston more often than they picked Buffalo. That makes sense, right? Like you have a lot of entries and you're planning to win 18 million bucks. You don't need the win as bad, so you just put Buffalo on less. So the kind of segments of the players matter because it affects people's brains, right? So as you make projections for it, you want to think about that a little bit. Okay, what else should I go through? Okay, hey, we got a new feature as well. This is a work in progress, but it's already useful to me. And this was requested by a couple people, kind of sent me ideas like this. And now we're putting it together. So if you go to a player profile, I'm going to go to mine. Go, Gabe. Okay, this is the captain's log. Survivor Atlas captain's log. So these are my entries right here. And this, it's kind of like the map, but it's different. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles. This is more for just recording your latest thoughts. The map, you might have different maps for each one, and you want to see all the different teams. This is more just, okay, I got these entries, and I want to keep my thoughts on what I'm picking. So let's say I just put those in there, and then I go do something else. Whatever, look at this stuff. Look at go back, whoever, and then you come back to it. Those things will always save. So when you just have an idea, you're like, oh, Wink 8, definitely taking Indy with this one. Where's all Indy at? Indy. But these I can't use Indy, so I'll just leave that one there. It's not like it's not anything too advanced, right? It's just a way to log picks on different weeks. And it's 13 or whatever, 12,000 entries right now. You don't really need to do this for your opponents. But if you're in the last 100 or you're in the last 30, or as it gets super high stakes and every decision matters, you're going to be wanting to go through your opponents and do this for them. Like when there's a few weeks left, figure out who they're on, who their tendencies from before are on, and then try to guess what they're going to do. Because in those last weeks, the knowing what the field is doing is how you create crazy value. Like if you're in the last week and you see, the famous example last year, the one guy could have been on an island on Seattle and made $150,000 of theoretical money by going with the island if he had done a process like this, going through all his opponents, figure out what they were doing. But early season, like right now, going into week 5, it's more just about planning and your records and stuff like that. And so every time you pick one, it saves it, and you can always export it into a CSV if you're into that. So this is kind of the new main player profile page situation, and I'd love to hear what other kind of stuff we want on this page. There's so many more things that the map has, whether it's the auto filling out everything, just picking the highest favorites, or maybe saving different copies of it. I don't know. As always, we try to just build stuff that people's brains imagine that solves a problem, right? And then from there we get feedback, see how it sticks. And we had this claim button and following. Oh, I guess I go ahead and claim this. Claimed. The original idea was, or part of it was, a page like this where you can claim your entry and it's all yours, like it's your space to work in. But it just makes too much sense that later in the season you want to do this with other players. Like you have to have a system for figuring out what they're doing, so you can maximize your opportunities. We know that like in Survivor, you can't just be looking at your own situation. Obviously you can if you're just trying to maximize the chance of you surviving. That's fine, but the way I play, I try to maximize how much money my decisions are worth. So if you're doing that, you're going to have to be staring at the field, wondering about what they're doing. You can also type in other players, bring them up. Let's look at this other Gabe. Let's see if Degenerate Gambler Gabe's is he got me beat right now? He's got 4. He's only got 1. He's still in there though. Okay. I think that covers everything for today's walkthrough. Just peeking at some stuff, feeling out, where the next week's going. Tomorrow, today's Monday, we're recording this. Tomorrow, Tuesday, we're going to put out projections, 10 o'clock Vegas time. Those Tuesday projections last week were spot on and felt pretty good. Especially, I told Tony, I was like, man, this is a rough draft on Tuesday. This is just putting something out for the world. So then nailing it on our week, that felt pretty good. So we're going to try to nail it again tomorrow. And then an hour after that, I'm going to be hanging with Mikey on Game Winning Drive. And we're going to chop it up like we always do. So if you have any questions, Discord's great, Twitter's great, and appreciate you watching. And this will not be the last one of these. Thank you.